On the wedding day, I was exchanging rings with my girlfriend. But before the ring even touched her ring finger, her first love rushed onto the stage, snatched the diamond ring away in a flash. Liu Ryan watched as he slid the ring onto his own finger. Smiling, she grabbed his hand. "Perfect fit," she said. "It suits you well." Suddenly, the entire hall fell into dead silence. Friends and family turned their attention to my reaction. They expected to witness an all-out brawl. Unexpectedly, I popped open a confetti cannon, watched the colorful streamers fill the air as I offered my blessing, wishing you both endless sweetness. May your love flow like a river. Liu Ryan looked at me. Jijian Yang, holding her hand, grinned innocently. "I think it suits me well too," I said. "So just gift it to me." It was then that Liu Ryan realized something was wrong. This was our engagement ceremony. She released Jijian Yang's hand. "Hurry to explain. Jijian Yang and I were just joking around. Don't take it seriously. We hadn't invited any parents to the engagement. Only friends of Liu Ryan and me were present." Everyone quickly tried to ease the atmosphere. "It's your engagement party today. Just a little joke, don't mind it. It's all in the spirit of fun." A little joke? Who jokes by snatching an engagement ring and wearing it? I glanced at Jijian Yang standing closely by Liu Ryan's side. They truly looked like a perfect match. A talented man with a beautiful woman. He deliberately raised his hand, fingers caressing the ring on his fourth finger. A silent provocation towards me, telling me I'm the real outsider here. I chuckled softly at Liu Ryan, raised an eyebrow. "We're nearly done with the formalities. How about we skip to the wedding night?" Liu Ryan's face immediately turned sour. She stepped in front of me. "Lu Zun, I already told you it was just a joke. Jian Yang is just playful by nature. You're a grown man, yet still so petty?" "Jian Yang and I grew up together. We're like siblings. Why do you insist on having a problem with him?" The room fell into an awkward silence once again. No one dared to smooth things over anymore. It was Jian Yang who finally took off the ring and handed it to me. "All right, Ryan, don't blame Brother Liu. He's not really upset with me. Here's the ring back. Congratulations on your engagement." He extended the ring toward me, but then deliberately loosened his grip. The ring slipped from his fingers, fell to the ground with a soft clink. It rolled to a stop at my feet. The awkwardness in the room intensified. Even though I was the one being wronged, it felt like everyone was embarrassed for me. Yet Liu Ryan kept blaming me, as if Jijian Yang was the one truly wronged. The look in Liu Ryan's eyes was as cold as ever. It felt like a bucket of ice water poured over me. Suddenly, my heart became eerily calm. Had this happened in the past, I probably would have fought Jijian Yang by now. Then I'd have a huge argument with Liu Ryan. Afterward, she'd stay away for a long time, giving me the silent treatment, until I humbly begged for her forgiveness. No matter whose fault it was always me who had to apologize. For the past 4 years, this cycle repeated itself, so she'd gotten used to looking down on me from her high pedestal, while I groveled below. Liu Ryan and Jijian Yang were neighbors. Their families had known each other for generations. Jian Yang, by nature, was outgoing, but he had poor health, so he was often bullied by the other boys. Meanwhile, Liu Ryan had a fiery personality, so she always dutifully protected him. Even though they never officially announced it, everyone assumed they were a couple. So, when Liu Ryan confessed her feelings to me, I couldn't believe it. I even thought I was dreaming. But when Liu Ryan reached out and held my hand, the touch felt real. I thought maybe she was just playing around. Or maybe it was a punishment from losing a game. But I had liked her for so long that even if it was fake, I didn't care. So we got together smoothly. Every day, I bought breakfast and waited outside her dorm to walk to class with her. We held hands and ate together in the cafeteria. We shared our daily lives. Every holiday was spent together. but I was always the one to initiate everything. I thought maybe she was just carefree by nature, so she wasn't good at being proactive, until I saw her taking the initiative to share her day with Jijianyang, buying breakfast for him on her own. Turns out it wasn't that she didn't know how to care, but the person she was willing to care for wasn't me. A friend beside me picked up the ring and handed it back to me. I snapped out of my daze, took the ring and threw it toward Liu Ryan. Her face darkened. Her voice was filled with anger. Lu Zun, have you had enough? Must you embarrass yourself like this? I shrug. It's just a joke. Not funny. I ignored the anger on Liu Ryan's face, turned around and left the banquet hall without looking back. Behind me, I could still hear Jijianyang's innocent voice. Ryan, I was really just joking. I didn't know Brother Liu would get upset. I should go apologize, I thought. But Liu Ryan, holding back her anger, said, "No need to apologize to him. You didn't do anything wrong. Getting mad over something as important as an engagement? We might as well have our own fun." Can you even believe these words? She doesn't even care to figure out right from wrong, blindly siding with Duen Juxin, even though I'm supposed to be her boyfriend. They act more like a couple. Whenever Jijianyang was feeling down, no matter how late it was, she'd drop everything, even me, to rush to him. Jijianyang's health was weak, so to make his work easier, she hired him as her assistant. Whenever we drove somewhere together, I was always the driver, while they sat in the back chatting away. As soon as Jijianyang needed anything, she would be the first to tend to him. Whenever I wanted to question her, whenever I felt anger rising, she would simply say, "Jijianyang has been frail since childhood. He grew up with me. We're like siblings. Have a broader heart. Don't be so petty." But every time I thought of Jijianyang, I felt an uncontrollable restlessness, a burning frustration deep inside. And today's events finally made me realize that I really am just an outsider. If someone doesn't love you, no amount of warmth will ever reach their heart. Liu Ryan was taking my love for her, throwing it into the mud, and stomping on it cruelly, until there was nothing left. I hailed a taxi casually. As soon as I got in, my phone rang. It was a friend calling. As soon as I answered, he started venting on my behalf. "Brother Liu, as soon as you left, those two acted like nothing happened. They were hugging and clinging to each other. It's outrageous. Does she even see you anymore?" I chuckled softly. Maybe she doesn't see me anymore. I'm heading home for now. Let's talk later. After all, if she still cared about me, she wouldn't be doing such absurd things. But deep inside, I was all ready to calm, not a ripple in my heart. No more panic or frustration like before. No more self-doubt. Turns out, when love fades, it brings a surprising sense of relief. When I got home, I cooked a simple bowl of noodles for myself. Liu Ryan didn't message me, and I didn't reach out to her like I used to. Didn't lower myself to apologize. I opened an email with a job offer. A while ago, on a whim, I applied for a translator position at the embassy in country A. 2 days ago, I had a video interview. Honestly, I hadn't decided whether to accept or not. When I graduated from college, I had the opportunity to get directly into further studies at the Academy of Diplomacy. My professor said it was a great opportunity, with the potential to work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He urged me to seize it, but the workload would be intense, and the job would require frequent postings abroad. Liu Ryan didn't want me leaving for a job abroad. So, in my love-stricken state, I turned down the offer. For 2 years after graduation, I stayed at home, taking over the assistant duties meant for Jijianyang. Because Jijianyang was incapable of doing anything, he just held the title of assistant. In the end, he got the paycheck, and I did all the work. Yet I held no resentment, because all the household expenses were covered by Liu Ryan. And I was happy just to stay by her side. But now that I think about it, maybe she insisted I stay home just to have a fool who would work for Jijianyang for free. It's been 2 years since I've used any foreign language, so I felt a bit nervous. But this time, I had to seize the opportunity. I replied to the email. I gathered some study materials and spent the afternoon reviewing. That night, after I finished washing up, Liu Ryan still hadn't come home. I didn't mind and went straight to bed. In the middle of the night, the sound of the door woke me up. Liu Ryan called my name. Lu Zun. I didn't respond. She opened the bedroom door, her voice laced with anger. Lu Zun. I glanced at her calmly. You're back, go shower and sleep. Why are you calling me? She froze. In the past, if she came home late, I would have bombarded her with calls and texts. And when she got back, I'd accuse her of having an affair with Jijianyang. Then we'd have a huge fight. But tonight, I felt unusually calm. Her expression darkened. Lu Zun. Jianyang felt really guilty today, so I stayed with him a bit longer. I stayed in bed, not even bothering to open my eyes. She leaned in closer. The scent of men's cologne wafted into my nose. He might have taken the joke a bit too far today, but he didn't mean it. I waved my hand dismissively. I know it wasn't intentional. Just go shower. I'm going back to sleep. She was holding back her anger. Lu Zun, I already explained. What more do you want? I was confused. Opened my eyes to look at her. I'm not even mad. What are you explaining for? She looked at me in utter disbelief. In the past, she always waited for me to admit my fault, standing above it all. For once, she lowered her head, only to be met with cold indifference. I didn't pay her any more attention, closed my eyes and went to sleep. She slammed the door. The sound echoed through the bedroom for a long time. I knew she was angry because I didn't apologize like I used to, but I didn't care anymore. The next morning, I made breakfast as usual and started eating. Liu Ryan came out of the guest room, looking exhausted. She was still wearing the same dress from yesterday, but now there was a hickey on her neck. She glanced into the kitchen, then walked over to me. You didn't make breakfast for me and Jianyang? Jianyang eats your toast every morning, you know. I didn't respond to her. I'm not your servant. If he wants to eat, he can make it himself. Seeing my silence, she asked again, are you still mad at us? Last night you said you weren't mad, didn't you? I looked up at her. I'm not mad. Jianyang is like a brother to me. What would I be mad about? She stayed silent for a moment, then spoke again. Our company has a team-building event the next couple of days. Oh, so? I stood up, cleared the dishes, and walked toward the kitchen. She stepped in front of me, her face full of confusion. Aren't you coming? I sidestepped her. No thanks, I'm not interested. I've got things to do. She didn't say anything else. In the past, every time I wanted her to travel with me, she'd always use this same excuse to refuse. If I pushed the issue, it would always lead to a big fight. So even when it hurt, I chose to stay silent. Now it seems our roles have reversed. Handling things her way really does make life simpler. Whatever. Go if you want, don't go if you don't. Liu Ryan left, slamming the door so hard it hit the wall, making a loud noise. I spent the entire day preparing documents and materials for my overseas job. I barely ate lunch, just a biscuit. It wasn't until dusk that I finally returned home. Liu Ryan hadn't come back yet. I glanced at my phone and saw that she had sent me several messages. I've gone to the team building event. I bought you some fruit. Remember to eat. I replied with a simple then put my phone down and headed to the kitchen. I thought I'd eat some fruit to fill up first, but when I opened the fridge, all I saw was a bunch of mangoes. I'm allergic to mangoes. It's Jijianyang who loves mangoes, so I ended up making instant noodles for myself. The next day at noon, Liu Ryan unexpectedly came back. Lu Zun, I'm home. I was a bit surprised, but didn't feel like acknowledging her, so I kept playing on my phone. Seeing my lack of response, She marched over to me. I came back early. I found it strange, so you're back. Why are you saying this so many times? I didn't even look at her. Just gave a slight nod. She snatched my phone away. Aren't you going to ask why I came back early? I stood up and took my phone back. Frowning slightly. You're back, so what does that have to do with me? She seemed a little panicked and began explaining herself. Ji-young suddenly felt unwell, so I took him to the hospital. That's why I came back early. I yawned. I sat back down on the couch and continued looking at my phone. Got it. Anything else? I'm a bit busy right now. She began shouting. Lu-zun, why don't you care about me at all anymore? You've changed. What's there to care about with something like this? She froze for a moment, then crouched down and grabbed my wrist, her voice trembling slightly. You used to care about my every move. Why are you so cold to me now? In the past, whenever she mentioned anything about Ji-yeon, I'd always question her about what she was doing and whether anything had happened between them. She used to complain that I was too controlling, that she had no personal space. Now that I didn't care, she seemed even more unhappy. I gently pushed her away. As she stepped back, a piece of paper fell out of her bag. Before she could react, I picked it up and glanced at it. It was a marriage registration appointment form. The bride's name was Liu Ryan. The groom's name was Ji-yeon. I was stunned. You're marrying Ji-yeon? Liu Ryan hurriedly snatched the paper back, then tore it into tiny pieces. No! Lu-zun, let me explain. I couldn't even describe what I was feeling in that moment. I was shocked, sure. But was I hurt? Not really. In fact, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I even felt like laughing. There's no need to explain. Her face filled with panic, her voice desperate. I only did it in a moment of anger after the engagement party. That's why I went with Jianyang to make that mistake. I'm not actually going to marry him. I looked at her calmly. Shrug. It's fine. Why not turn the act into reality? I think you two are a perfect match. She reached out and wrapped her arms around my waist, her eyes red with tears. Lu-zun, please don't be angry anymore, okay? There's really nothing between me and him. I pushed her away. I'm not angry. I'm being serious. Let's break up. She started to get angry, grabbing my arm forcefully. How long are you going to keep throwing a tantrum? I've already explained everything to you. Why are you still being so passive-aggressive? You really want to break up. Don't regret it later. As I expected, even when she lowers herself, she can never sustain it for long. I pulled her hand away firmly. I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap. With that, I stood up and headed for the bedroom. Liu Ryan screamed after me. Lu-zun! I ignored her and closed the bedroom door. Outside, I could hear her screaming, accompanied by the sound of things crashing and breaking. Honestly, this was the first time I'd seen her this furious. In the past, whenever something like this happened, I was always the one yelling and throwing things, and she'd leave slamming the door behind her, leaving me alone to lose my mind at home. But now, our roles had completely reversed. Turns out, when you no longer love someone, you truly stop caring about anything they do. I didn't give it another thought. I put on my headphones, listened to music, and fell asleep. After preparing all the documents for my overseas job yesterday, I was exhausted. I ended up sleeping until 5 p.m. When I walked out of the bedroom, I was greeted by a mess. I didn't feel like cleaning it up. I simply used my foot to push aside the things in my way. Liu Ryan had probably stormed out after her tantrum. I had long gotten used to it. Whenever she was upset, she'd disappear for days, sometimes even nights. So having a girlfriend always felt like being single. But in a week, I'd be leaving the country for my new job. Finally, I could leave this house behind. After finishing dinner, I packed all the necessary documents. then began practicing my interpreting skills. Just then, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Soo Din, my class monitor from college. Lu Zun, is everything okay with you? I was a bit puzzled. What could be wrong? I'm fine. Soo Din and I were really close in college, but Liu Ryan never liked her. So after I started dating Liu Ryan, I distanced myself from Soo Din, only staying in touch occasionally. Just a few sporadic messages here and there. She sent me a screenshot of a social media post. It was from Ji Jianyang. The caption read, "After all the twists and turns, it's still you." And in the picture, it was clearly Liu Ryan. You didn't see this post? Did Liu Ryan betray you? I calmly replied with a voice message. I broke up with her unilaterally. She can be with whoever she wants now. But how have you been lately? We chatted for quite a while. Coincidentally, she was also moving abroad for work. We decided to travel together and made plans to meet up the day after tomorrow. Until the day I was supposed to meet Soo Din, Liu Ryan still hadn't come home. Nor had she sent any messages or called me. As Soo Din and I were about to enter the restaurant, we saw Ji Jianyang holding Liu Ryan's hand, walking out. The moment Liu Ryan saw me, her eyes lit up. She suddenly let go of Ji Jianyang's hand. But when she saw Soo Din standing beside me, her eyes filled with anger again. Lu Zun, did you break up with me just to be with her? Her shout caught the attention of everyone around us. I knew if I didn't clarify things, I'd be the headline tomorrow. Just as Soo Din was about to step forward to defend me, I held her back and shook my head. Liu Ryan got even angrier, lashing out at me with all her fury. I thought you were the one I'd spend my life with, and all you ever did was doubt me. And now you're breaking up with me for her. Do you know what that is? It's cheating. I gave you my heart and you fed it to the dogs. I couldn't help but laugh. I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Lu Zun, do you really think Liu Ryan ever liked you? She was just jealous of me. That's why she started dating you to make me mad. And we've done everything a couple would do. She's just playing with you. Don't flatter yourself. This was over a year ago. It was from a time when Ji Jianyang had provoked me. I had recorded the conversation just in case. At the time, I still trusted Liu Ryan, thinking Ji Jianyang was just trying to stir up trouble. So I didn't pay much attention to it. But when Liu Ryan heard the recording, her brows furrowed. She turned to Ji Jianyang, her face full of anger. Ji Jianyang hurriedly grabbed her, shouting, "That's not true, Ryan. I never tried to provoke Brother Liu." I calmly put my phone away. Liu Ryan, that day when I saw your marriage registration appointment ... We were already done when I saw that marriage registration. The one who cheated was you. Ever since we got together, you spent more time with Ji Jianyang than with me. You even had me help with his work. Do you even have a heart? How could you have the nerve to say that you gave your heart to the dogs? If anyone should be saying that, it's me. Liu Ryan immediately slapped Ji Jianyang. Then she tried to grab me. Lu Zun, it's not like that. Don't believe what he says. I can explain. Come home with me, okay? Soo Din tried to block her again. But I gently protected Soo Din and pushed Liu Ryan's hand away. Liu Ryan, we're done. After saying that, I took Soo Shin's hand. Let's go. Let's find another restaurant. Soo Din readily agreed. We walked away side by side. Liu Ryan tried to chase after us, but Ji Jianyang stopped her. He shouted, "Ryan, I'm the one who grew up with you, not him. Lu Zun is just an outsider." Before he could finish, Liu Ryan slapped him again. Get lost. He's my boyfriend. I have nothing to do with you. Leave. Just as I expected, the whole scene from yesterday was recorded and uploaded online. Because Liu Ryan's parents are prominent figures in the business world, the incident quickly made the headlines, but it was quickly suppressed. Liu Ryan is currently negotiating a major project, and a scandal like this would definitely hurt her reputation. I scrolled through videos and saw reporters gathered outside her house, Thankfully, I had moved out ahead of time. I'm currently staying at Sushin's place temporarily. She's a diplomat now. She's been quite busy recently and isn't home much, since I didn't have a place to stay. She suggested I move in with her. She told me she's also been assigned to the same embassy as me, so we agreed to travel together. Back then, both of us were recommended for further studies, but I turned it down. Now, I truly regret giving up that opportunity for Liu Ryan. But from now on, I can live my life for myself. As I scrolled through my phone, the ringtone went off. It was Liu Ryan calling. I hung up immediately. She called again. After a few times, I finally answered. Liu Ryan, will you stop already? Don't bother me anymore. On the other end, I heard her frantic voice. Lu Zun, where are you? Come back, okay? I miss you. I didn't respond and hung up straight away. Then I blocked her on all my social media. However, the next day, Liu Ryan showed up at the door. I thought Soo-din had come home, so I opened the door. Liu Ryan was wearing a black hat and a mask, dark circles under her eyes. She no longer had the vibrant look she used to. Before I could react, she rushed in, frantically searching for something. Where's Soo-din? Where's that mistress of yours? I sent Soo-din a quick message, then closed the door to avoid causing more of a scene. Leaning against the door, I watched her. My heart's not with her, and there's nothing going on between us. Of course, there's even less between you and me. She stopped searching and walked straight up to me, glaring coldly into my eyes. It doesn't matter if you're staying at her place. I looked up, locking eyes with her. Where I live has nothing to do with you. What do you want? Her breathing quickened. I knew she was suppressing her anger. After a moment, she knelt down, pulling out a ring. It was the same one from our engagement party. Lu Zun, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? Her voice began to choke with emotion. Please marry me. I realize I can't live without you. Lu Zun, I love you. I really love you. In the 4 years we'd been together, I had never heard her say the word love, never. This was the first time, but it no longer moved me. She reached for my hand, trying to slip the ring onto my finger. I quickly pulled my hand away. Her hand froze mid-air. Lu XU and ... I smiled. I'm not the same Lu Zun who used to grovel before you anymore. I'm not interested in picking up discarded trash. I've known about you and Ji Jianyang for a long time, even when we first got together. Everyone, including myself, thought it was strange. After all, you and Ji Jianyang grew up together. Your families are close. Then I suddenly appeared out of nowhere. No one believed it, not even me. I was curious too, until one day I overheard Liu Ryan talking with her friends. I eavesdropped on the real reason. Liu Ryan and Ji Jianyang were indeed promised to each other since childhood, but Ji Jianyang rebelled and found himself a girlfriend. When Liu Ryan found out, she decided to get herself a boyfriend to spite him, and that foolish boyfriend turned out to be me. But I still clung to the hope that one day I could make Liu Ryan fall in love with me. I stayed by her side unwaveringly. But after these 4 years, I was completely disillusioned. The engagement ring fell to the ground, rolling to my feet just like at the engagement party. Liu Ryan, I'll never forgive you, and I'm leaving the country soon. Liu Ryan stood up, quickly rushing to hug my waist. Why are you leaving the country? Are you trying to avoid me? Do you really have to be so heartless? Her grip tightened around me, causing me to frown. At that moment, Soo-din returned. Looking a bit unsure of what to do, I pried Liu Ryan's arms off me. Soo-din stepped forward and slapped her. Liu Ryan, Lu Zun has nothing to do with you anymore. You hurt him so deeply, and you still have the nerve to cling to him? I held Soo-din back before she could continue. Looking down at Liu Ryan, I said, for years, every moment of my life revolved around you. I'm exhausted, Liu Ryan. Wake up! No one is going to wait around for you forever. Liu Ryan lowered her head in silence. Soo-din glanced at me, signaling it was time for her to leave. You should go, or I'll report you for trespassing. This time, Liu Ryan didn't argue. She slowly stood up and left the apartment. The day before I was set to leave the country, my parents insisted we have one last meal together. I thought it would be a good idea to thank Soo-din for her help, so I invited her along. My parents were overjoyed about my breakup with Liu Ryan. From the start, they were strongly against the relationship. They could see that Liu Ryan wasn't a suitable partner. But it was my first time falling in love, and I was head over heels. I didn't want to listen to them, so they eventually gave up trying to convince me. When Soo-din and I arrived at the restaurant, my parents greeted us warmly. My mom grabbed Soo-shin's hand with a big smile on her face. Son, this girl is really beautiful. Is Liu-sun treating you well? I felt a bit embarrassed. Mom, what are you talking about? We're not. Before I could finish, Soo-din interrupted me. Auntie, don't worry. Liu-sun treats me very well. My dad chimed in from the side. If this boy ever mistreats you, just come to me. I'll straighten him out. My heart started racing a little. I wanted to pour a bucket of cold water on myself to calm down. I quickly spoke up. Come on, let's go inside. During the meal, Soo-din and my parents hit it off, chatting enthusiastically. I could barely get a word in. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside. Son, take care of yourself when you're abroad. Soo-din is a good girl. You two should seriously consider dating. Seeing how happy my mom was, I decided not to explain. I know, Mom. On the way home, I hailed a cab. I made sure to sit in the front seat and played on my phone to avoid talking to Soo-din. That's when I received a text from an unknown number. It said, Liu-sun, I'll wait for you to come back, always. When I got home, I hurried straight to the bedroom. Soo-din called after me. Liu-sun, are you avoiding me? My heart skipped a beat. Huh? No, I just wanted to rest early. She gave me a slight smile. If you're willing, we could give it a try. I froze. My heart started racing again. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. She noticed my discomfort. It's okay. You can think about it slowly. I quickly rushed into my room and shut the door. The next day, neither of us mentioned what had happened the night before. I had already calmed down by then. We both left early to catch our flight. Life abroad was fulfilling every day. Though being new to the job, there were many things I didn't fully understand, but fortunately, Soo-din was there to help. I quickly adapted. Life here was vibrant and exciting. I learned a lot of new things. Occasionally, I'd video chat with friends back home. Sometimes they would mention Liu Ryan. During my first year abroad, Liu Ryan remained single. But due to the scandal from before, her parents took away her control of the company. Now, she just spent her days aimlessly drifting, partying all the time, and Ji Yang was still following her around. Another year passed. I heard from friends that Liu Ryan and Ji Yang got drunk together and made a mistake. Liu Ryan ended up pregnant. She wanted to have an abortion, but Ji Yang wouldn't allow it, threatening to commit suicide. With no other choice, Liu Ryan reluctantly decided to keep the baby. In the 2 years I spent abroad, I earned my level 3 cutting translation certificate and participated in many translation competitions. I've been living a very happy life here, making lots of new friends. Soo-din and I eventually became a couple. Now I'm preparing for the national exam, hoping to become a translator for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Soo-shin's foreign assignment will end next year and she return home. I'll be going back with her, just in time to take the exam. One day after work, I was chatting with Soo-din when I received a call from an unknown number. It was Liu Ryan. Liu-sun, I can't wait for you anymore. I'm going to marry Ji Yang. I'm sorry. I've made so many mistakes in the past and hurt you deeply. How are you doing? I didn't care whether she waited for me or not. From the moment I left, she became nothing more than a passerby in my life. I took a sip of water. I'm doing great. The past is behind us. I'm truly sorry, Luzon. I wish I could make it up to you, but it's too late. She started reminiscing about when we first got together, sharing stories from the past, but I couldn't connect with her emotions. I quickly found an excuse to end the call. Was that Liu Ryan? Sue Din asked, leaning her head on my shoulder. I nodded. She gently nudged me. What does she still want from you? I smiled and tickled her waist. What's this? Are you jealous? She was just telling me. She's marrying Ji Jianyang. I picked her up and carried her toward the bedroom, smiling as I said, let's get married too. Just like that. 3 years flew by. Finally, we embarked on the journey back home. As soon as I returned, a few of my friends invited me out for dinner. While catching up, it was inevitable that old stories came up. They told me that after Liu Ryan got pregnant, both families pressured Ji Jianyang and Liu Ryan to get married. After the wedding, Ji Jianyang became extremely possessive, not allowing Liu Ryan to attend any events with men present. His possessiveness was overwhelming. But one day, after an unknown argument between them, Liu Ryan got angry and they had a fight. In the heat of the moment, Ji Jianyang accidentally pushed Liu Ryan. She fell, her stomach hitting the edge of a table, and she had a miscarriage. After the miscarriage, Ji Jianyang spiraled into madness, eventually being committed to a mental institution. Meanwhile, Liu Ryan was sent abroad to recover by her parents. However, my friends told me she recently returned from abroad. Because of this whole ordeal, the Ji and Liu families, once close, had now become enemies. It was hard not to feel a sense of pity for them. On my way to pick up Sue Din, I bought her some flowers. She had bought many gifts, preparing to meet my parents. As we got into the car, I noticed a familiar figure in the distance. When she saw me look her way, she quickly turned to avoid me. Sue Din asked, "What do your parents like? Do you think these gifts are enough? Should I buy more?" I turned back to her and couldn't help but joke. You've already bought so much we can barely fit it all. And besides, all they really like is you. Everything you've bought, they'll love. Well, hubby, do you like me? Looking at her sweet and adorable expression, I couldn't help but smile. I don't like you. I love you. The end.